Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is another Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies.
They're dropping like flies.
Listen, people are dropping like flies out there.
I am
Boop.
pissed off.
We're dropping like flies around here.
We're dropping like flies here. Jeez, sir, 2 more just went down. Dropping like flies.
Too many people around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast.
Biden's being Biden's being an extremist.
Crush that fly.
And this happened. Stay home when sick. One of my viewers sent me this. It's from CDC, Centers of Disease Control, from 3 weeks ago. And it's the weirdest, one of the weirdest videos I've ever seen on YouTube. And I mean, this is YouTube, right? And I got a bunch of weird stuff to get to today, like just idiosyncratic, like this is always weird stuff, but this is even more so. So this is this video. I'll play it, then I'll like comment on it.
Anthony, a young black man with Dandy Walker syndrome, looks out his window and waves.
Stay home when you are sick.
Anthony is resting in his bed. His cheeks are red.
You have COVID-19. You feel sick.
Anthony talks to his doctor on video chat.
Your doctor says you need to stay home for 5 days.
Anthony's dad brings him breakfast in bed. Anthony and his dad are both wearing masks.
You stay in your room so other people don't get sick.
Anthony walks to the bathroom. He uses a walking stick. He is still wearing a mask.
You wear a mask when you go to the bathroom. You always wear a mask when you leave your room.
Anthony says hi to his friends at the park. He is still wearing a mask.
When you are better, you can see your friends again.
Anthony points to his mask.
You wear a mask for a few more days.
Wow. Now this part.
Logo, CDC. Learn more at www.
So I stepped on that a little bit, but it said here. Let me play that again.
Logo, CDC. Learn more.
So that was really weird. I mean, it would be weird from the time when COVID was really prevalent, but now it's even, weirder. This is a weird video. Okay, so let's start reviewing this thing. There's a lot to get to here.
Anthony, a young black man with Dandy Walker syndrome, looks out his window and waves.
Okay, why did you say he's a young black man? It's weird, right? Like, I don't, it's uncomfortable, and we see that he's black, right? Now, I thought maybe they were doing this for the blind, but they have words here so people can read them. I thought this was maybe a message. It doesn't say anything about being just for the blind, so they're being overly descriptive, right? We see that he's a black guy. There's no reason to say it. And he has Dandy Walker syndrome, which is weird because I didn't know what that was, and probably most people don't. So I'm in the editing process, and I just wanted to point this out. I'll get into what's Dandy Walker syndrome in a second here. But them pointing out that his color of his skin is black has no bearing on the rest of the video, right? Like it's not specifically something that would, it's about COVID and COVID policies, right? So the whole thing is weird. Like it's robotic, almost like it was generated by AI or something. It starts off weird and then it just gets weirder. What is Dandy Walker syndrome? Dandy Walker syndrome is a congenital happening before birth condition where the cerebellum does not develop normally. The cerebellum is an area of the back of the brain that controls movement and balance. With Dandy Walker syndrome, parts of the cerebellum may never develop or may be very small. So that's weird to put that in there, right? So you got a guy with an underdeveloped cerebellum who's, a black guy because they really felt like that was important to point that out, right? who gets COVID. And these two facts that you know about this guy, that he's black and he has Dandy Walker syndrome, have no bearing on the rest. It's like information you don't need to know, right? Like, it has nothing to do with really the rest of the video. It's about telling you how to behave when you have COVID.
Stay home when you are sick.
Anthony is resting in his bed. His cheeks are red.
You have COVID-19. You feel sick.
Now, I don't understand the difference between the guy and the girl. Like, why are there's just a weirdness. There's the description and there's the reading of the words. I don't remember red cheeks being a part of COVID. Like, it's just weird. Like, it already started off weird.
Anthony talks to his doctor on video chat.
Your doctor says you need to stay home for 5 days.
Anthony's dad brings him breakfast in bed. Anthony and his dad are both wearing masks.
You stay in your room so other people don't get sick.
Anthony walks to the bathroom. He uses a walking stick. He is still wearing a mask.
You wear a mask when you go to the bathroom.
Again, just so remedial. Like, who is this for? Like, toddlers? People with underdeveloped cerebellums? Like, it's just such a remedial video. And the whole mask thing, like, I had thought that there had been some level. Remember Dr. Leanna Wynn? I'll play you the clips here.
Do you agree with the move?
I do. There was and is a time and place for pandemic restrictions, but when they were put in, it was always with the understanding that they would be removed as soon as we can. And in this case, circumstances have changed. Case counts are declining. Also, the science has changed, but rather that the responsibility should shift from a government mandate imposed from the state or the local district of the school. Rather, it should shift to an individual responsibility by the family, who can still decide that their child can wear a mask if needed.
Take New Jersey, the case in New Jersey, for instance, their new case average is just over 4,000. Is that an acceptable number to do this, or are they projecting out to March 7th at this point?
I don't think we should be looking at case counts at all at this point, especially when we're dealing with a milder variant and when so many people were exposed to Omicron and therefore have at least some level of protection either through vaccination or immunity. The key number that we should be looking at is hospitalizations. If our ICUs and hospitals in that particular region are not overwhelmed, if they're not over capacity, we can set a number, for example, 75% or 80% full, then we should be able to relax all restrictions. And I actually believe that we should be starting to, with the first restriction removed, should actually be the restriction on children. Because while for adults, you could say, well, what's the harm of adults masking when they go into a grocery store? There actually is a harm that we should be discussing of children continuing to mask. That doesn't mean that masking doesn't have its place for children when there are very high rates of hospitalization. If we get a new variant in the future that children are particularly susceptible to, we may want to bring masks back. But we should also be intellectually honest and say that masking has had a cost, especially for the youngest learners, people with English as a second language, children with learning disabilities. There has been a cost to them. So the risk-benefit calculation has really changed.
Keeping the events that are safe and also the events that have fun for people too. We can't be canceling everything, especially if we're going to be living with COVID for the foreseeable future. I would say that if you choose to go, make sure that you're vaccinated and boosted. Make sure that you're wearing a mask, even though it's outdoors. If there are lots of people packed around you, wearing a 3-ply surgical mask. Don't wear a cloth mask. Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations. There's no place for them in light of Omicron. And so wear a high-quality mask, at least a 3-ply surgical mask. And if you're going to be visiting elderly relatives.
Recently, when you said here on CNN that cloth masks were, quote, little more than facial decorations. So, in light of Omicron, what kind of mask should we all be wearing? And were you surprised by the pushback from your comments?
Well, I was surprised because this is not the first time that I or Professor Osterholm or really any of us public health experts have been saying that cloth masks are not appropriate for this pandemic. It's not appropriate for Omicron. It was not appropriate for Delta, Alpha, or any of the previous variants either, because we're dealing with something that's airborne. We're dealing with a virus that's extremely contagious. At the very beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know about masking. And then we didn't have enough masks, enough high quality masks for healthcare workers. And so we were trying to ration those. But then pretty quickly, we recognized that COVID is airborne.
It came out and said cloth masks don't work. There was all these stuff out there where people were, it became something where almost nobody was wearing masks anymore. And I thought that had sort of disappeared. But 3 weeks ago, the CDC brought it back around again in this bizarre video, right?
You always wear a mask when you leave your room.
Anthony says hi to his friends at the park. He is still wearing a mask.
When you are better, you can see your friends again.
Weird. This is really weird. Can't you get proper animation on top of it? And then our friends just seem to be sitting here. This woman, I suppose, has cerebral palsy or Dandy Walker syndrome herself. I don't know. And this woman's just sitting there on the bench, like waiting for the guy to show up with a mask and COVID and a cane, right?
Anthony points to his mask.
You wear a mask.
He points to his mask.
For a few more days.
Anthony just points to his mask. Hey, look at me, you guys. I'm wearing my mask.
Logo, CDC. Learn more at www.
So, what's that description? It sounds like Jojo Magoo reading, directions that aren't supposed to be read on his speech. Just a weird video. So you guys remember that there was Bob Saget. Now this is, I guess, over a year ago. Bob Saget was one of the first people I was covering here on my other channel first, and then here on Hollywood Celebrities Dropping Like Flies. Brain surgeon further explains Bob Saget's tragedy. This guy covered this guy, and all these people who were professional doctors that knew a lot about head injury said the fall didn't explain his massive head injury. So I was going to talk about the new morning show because Caitlin Collins has been embarrassed and just disappeared. I'll talk about this maybe tomorrow. And, they only have Poppy Harlow left. I mean, the whole morning show on CNN had imploded. These are the former morning show hosts of CNN.
A bleeding on his brain. But when you read this autopsy report, that still may be the case, but it was a very significant blow to the head. I can show you, first of all, we put this graphic together just to give you an idea in yellow of all the various bones on his skull that were fractured. Now, it takes a lot of force to do that, and let me show you on the skull model if I can as well. Basically, there was fractures on the back of his head over here and also abrasion over here. So clearly there was some sort of impact over here. That fracture extended into the right temporal bone over here. So that was a hard blow to just do that. But what was also noted on the autopsy report was that there were skull fractures in the front of his skull over here as well, just above his eyes. So in order to do that, I mean, when I first saw this, if I knew nothing else about what had happened, you would think that maybe this was someone who had fallen down the stairs and had several impacts to the head or been unrestrained in a car accident. I mean, it was that degree of force.
So even Sanjay Gupta was calling BS on the autopsy because Bob Saget fell down and hit his head and then went to bed and never woke up. That was the official story. And everyone was like, that's not right. Like all these people, and professionals and, across the board. And everyone's calling BS on this thing, right? And I said, well, this will disappear in a month or whatever it is. His wife went on a crying tour, she went to various places and was crying about this and that and the other thing. But, we know that there was, this was just a fictitious story. The official story was not right. And I said they'll disappear and everyone forget about it, and they have. Because I've seen this over and over again. People were like outraged. Oh, let's get to the bottom of this. Bob Saget fans or truthers or whatever it is. And it's what I always say. Like, nothing really matters. Stories don't last. People lose interest. And everybody moves on. And that's what happened here. And I'm just pointing it out a year later, to say that I was right. Because, this is my YouTube channel. And that's what I do here. In the line of duty, St. Johns County Sergeant dies during arrest and struggle. A 25-year-old veteran with St. Johns County Sheriff's Office died, it's in Florida, died during a struggle with a combative 18-year-old resisting arrest, according to Sheriff Robert Hardwick. He collapsed from medical distress during the Friday night encounter. So this is the guy here, and he had some sort of a heart issue, right? Okay, so one of my viewers sent me this.
Came up and they're like, hey, you guys know where to get any Oxycontin? They're like, I'm 15 and I'm 16, like, I'm an old school junkie, and I'm...
Really, is that your profession? Is that... I wouldn't have guessed old school junkie.
Like, well, look, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, like, you're not going to get Oxycontin out here on the street.
Exactly. You got to find a corrupt doctor to write you a script so you get it at a pharmacy.
I was like, how much money are you trying to spend? And they were like, we got $40. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to take your money. And I went and I got him fentanyl.
What a good Samaritan, right? He's taking their money, and instead of getting them OxyContin, which sucks and is addictive and could ruin your life and kill you, he got him something that's like 100 times worse, right?
And I brought it back and I set it down in front of him and I said, this is a gram of fentanyl. This is enough to kill 6 people that have never used it. What I do to get high is this much, and I showed him how much I do. I was like, I'm keeping your money, and now I'm going to teach you how to save each other's lives, because you're not going to stop. I can't steer you away from doing it, but the best thing I can do for you now is give you real drugs and show you how to do it properly.
Is that the best? Is that the best you had to offer them? I can't stop you from doing it, so I'm going to give you something way harder and way stronger, and I'm going to show you how to do it. There's no good teachers anymore.
And show you how to save your friend's life. And I showed him how to pull up Narcan and how to inject each other with the Narcan needle in case they died.
It was almost like a hero. I mean, he's putting out fires and saving lives left and right.
And how to inject each other with the Narcan needle in case they died. I needed the money. Let's
be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. I needed the money too. Like I deserve a fee for my tutelage of these young future junkies of America. This is Shirley Temple.
I went to MGM for one picture. Thank goodness, only one. And when I got there with my mother, we were separated. She went into the office of Louis B. Mayer, and I went into the office of Arthur Freed. And he was going to talk to me about a movie he wanted to put me in. I'm 12 years old, And I thought he was a producer, but instead he was an exhibitor. And I'd never seen anyone naked before, except myself.
Okay, Shirley, you got that wrong, because he was a producer and an exhibitor. He was multitasking. So I did a video on Shirley Temple that's no longer on YouTube for whatever reason. But it was old Shirley Temple clips. Might have been copyrighted or whatever it was. And she was in multiple movies where, like, one movie she played a prostitute, like legitimate prostitute. She was like 4 or 5. It was clear that there was abuse going on in these old TV shows. I mean, there was pedos in Hollywood way back when. And so this is just her confirming that, but I'm sure that there's other stories she's not really telling here.
So I had no clue about what was happening. And so it struck me so funny, I laughed at him. And I laughed uproariously. I had tears, and he got infuriated. And he said, out, 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 go.
Did you tell your mother?
Well, I was very quiet. I went down and met her in the lobby of the administration building. She came out very quietly from Louis B. Mayer's office. And we walked hand in hand silently to the car, which was unusual. We got in the car driving home. I said, Mom, you won't believe what happened to me. And I told her what happened, and she got kind of quiet. And she said, well, you don't know what happened to me. And Louis Louis B. Mayer wasn't as bad as Freed was to me.
He tried
but he came on to my mother. And so we both decided that we didn't like MGM much. It was, you know, it was better at Fox.
She talks like somebody who's had like a lifetime of abuse, right? I mean, she's, you know, she has that little kid affect and like somebody who just, you know, ceased to mature. She just stopped maturing. But anyways, well, we already know what happened to her. World Health Organization, WHO, has issued an alert about a cluster of cases of severe myocarditis in Wales and South England. I think I nailed it that time. Linked to the enterovirus infection. Enterovirus, I don't know. But here's the article from The Independent. Said that they notified unusual increase of myocarditis, inflammation of the heart among newborns in south of Wales infected with the enterovirus over the past year. So more myocarditis. Pedo Jeffrey Epstein threatened to expose Bill Gates' in 2010 affair with a Russian bridge player after he refused to participate in a multi-billion-dollar charitable fund with J.P. Morgan. That headline just tells it all, right? Gets all of the players involved. Mysterious form of mad cow disease emerges in the U.S. Of course it does. So my wife told me about this guy. He is a guy who died, Rashid Buttar. In fact, I saw him before somewhere. I don't know where, a while back. But he had this to say.
Know that it's possible that they could come for me because I'm very outspoken about it. But if you ever hear that something happened, that I died, I'm not depressed. I didn't commit suicide. I'm telling you right now that we need to stand up and fight. So just remember, if something happens to me, it's because I've been telling the truth and they don't want that truth to continue going out there. But I did not kill myself. I am not depressed. I'm very happy and I am very excited to be alive at this time in human history, because this is the sign of the times. All the stuff that is bad is going away and all the truths are coming to light.
Okay, so I want to talk about this a little bit. And I don't know if this guy's, well, I don't know who he is or whatever, right? Whether he's a shill or not, I don't care. None of these things matter to me. But if you are doing something where you think the powers that be will kill you for it, then you should stop doing that thing, right? If it involves your spreading what you think the truth is, and it's putting you and your family at risk, you're not aware of the situation. And I've talked about it over and over again. The system is going to collapse on its own. And so people who see what's going on, I mean, you have a duty to survive whatever's happening now. Again, it's for a lot of us, it won't be a choice. We'll be in the wrong place, at the wrong time. There's going to be a massive die-off as the system collapses, whatever it is, right? And so there's no way to fix the system. There's no way to wake people up. The majority of people have made up their minds. If you're out there and you're not even just risking your life, but causing problems for yourself in your family relationships or whatever, constantly droning on about this stuff. I mean, it's a big problem in the truth community. Wake up to waking up, right? This is like a public service announcement for all the people, woke people, awoken people, people in the truth community, wherever it is. Wake up to waking up. Waking up is an individual process. There are different layers and levels to it, and most people who, have had this awakening or whatever it is, whatever form it takes, have had it by now. There's young people that will come along and wake up at some point, but for the most part, adults have made their decision on how they view this situation. And even if everybody woke up, it wouldn't save the system. In fact, it would make the system collapse sooner. I've said this over and over again. And so there's no reason to go out there and proselytize. I just can't get it, that word. And, there's just no reason for it. There's no reason to think it's your duty to wake everybody up. It's because it's not. Everybody's made their choice and their consciousness and the things that they need are there. And it's, not your job to make sure that everybody survives this thing. It's not your job to so-called save the world, any of these things. We have to endure what's happening now and what will happen in the future. And then, prepare ourselves best as possible. And the people around us who are interested in it, in preparation for what's happening and what's going to happen. And then rebuild, a new humanity. And it has to be based in people's internal relationship to God. Because that's where we went off track before. We forgot about God. We went away from God. We went towards our egos, away from God. And it's very simple. This is not complex. And so the consequences from going away from God will hit us all. And the system we've now created, that's a great system for our material comforts, our material pleasures, but really not much for anything else, destroys the family, makes us weaker, makes us dependent, makes us stupider, makes us all these things. It hurts us. It's hurting our development, disconnects us from God, all these negatives. But positively, it's there for our comforts, and we're dependent on it. We like it, and we like parts of the system, and it'll be hard to give those things up, comforts and privileges and things. And when that happens, people have to make a choice, whether they want to survive or not, whether they want to, start over again. I mean, it's harder for people as you get older. I've already had to do that in my life. Not a great thing to do. But again, this battle's been lost years and years ago. There's never a battle. This was a process, and we're at the end of the process. And now everyone's like, oh my God, I just realized it's all a lie. I got to tell everybody. You don't have to. It's for you to realize or not, right? And so this guy, I don't know if it's real or not. I don't know why he died. I don't know if he really even died. I don't know if he's, whatever. But all these people are saying they're risking their lives. Why are you risking your lives, right? The system is dying. It's terminal. It can't survive. It's, the biggest thing is how people are. People are so weak. People are so, have gone so far away from what it takes to be a natural human being, the family being destroyed, immorality has set in. Just look around what's going on around you. It can't sustain itself. The kind of people that are being produced, celebrating the broken, celebrating the warped, mentally ill, all the things that are happening. Somebody just sent me all this weird clothing for toddlers in Target, which I won't show you the video, but what I'm talking about. And it's calling for a boycott of Target or whatever it is. And I'm like, it's everywhere. It's all pervasive. This is, what causes a civilization to collapse. When people are, this is what happens to wealthy people. They lose touch with reality. They completely, they become complete abominations of perversion of what a human being should be. And their family collapses. They spend their wealth. They become self-destructive. And they die, mentally ill, and the whole family becomes, this happens to the royal family, all these families, they eventually just, implode because of their dysfunction and their inbreeding and all the things that happen with them. We see this over and over again, that people who become rich and famous and, really wealthy people, powerful people, they go mad with their, with their power, with their whatever it is. And that's happening collectively now. All these people who are embracing the beastly system are going nuts. They're falling apart. And so, you don't have to wake them up because there's going to be a massive die-off. There's going to be massive population reduction. And some of those people just, they're marked for extinction, and they should be, right? Their, genetic line needs to come to an end because our, the genome, the human genome has become weak and, addicts and, just all these things, right? But anyways, move on, more cherry news. Okay, so I did the voiceover you just listened to, and I forgot the most important point, which I wanted to link this to Bob Saget. Because it's a very common thing for people in the truth community to say, hey, I'm not suicidal. If I die, I didn't commit suicide, right? People say that all the time. Like even Jussie Smollett yelled it when he was in, trial or whatever, when he's being sentenced. And so, so what? Like, you saying that means nothing, right? People are going to avenge your death, right? They're just going to forget about you like everything else. Nothing's going to be done. And a few people like, yeah, that guy said he wasn't going to commit suicide, so I'm calling BS. What we call BS on Bob Saget, what happened? I mean, official people were calling BS, right? Even Sanjay Gupta was hinting at it. You know, people in the beast sometimes call BS. Trump calls BS on stuff all the time that's been done to him or whatever, you know, whatever it might be. What difference did it make, right? He called BS on the election, didn't change a thing. It was a president. He was a sitting president. He said the election was rigged, and it didn't matter, right? They could have killed him, and it wouldn't have mattered, right? I mean, the majority of people believe Kennedy story is false. They don't believe in the official story of Kennedy, the official story of the big event that happened in 2001. Lots of people don't believe in the official story. Everyone kind of suspects on some level the media lies to them. At least some people believe Fox lies to them, some believe CNN lies to them, and some people believe both lie to them. And, you know, and most people don't watch it. Most people know politicians. I mean, if you ask the average person if politicians lie, they say, yeah, they lie all the time, right? And so, like, it's just, so what? Yeah, I mean, okay, you didn't commit suicide. You know, like, we know, you know, that there's nothing anybody can do about it, right? See, two things have disappeared. Journalism has disappeared, and it was never really there, but it was much more there than it is now. It's completely disappeared. And then the justice system has disappeared. And it was never really there, but it was more than it is now. And so there's no apparatus to take information like that and to do something about it, right? There's no, you know, fair play. There's no rule of law. There's nothing. And so somebody can die and they can suicide you. And that person, everyone in the world could say, oh, it's BS, just like they did with Jeffrey Epstein. And nothing happens and nothing will happen. Okay, so continuing on here. Candy urine, I'm torn. It's certainly stupid, but the packaging display is brilliant. Right? They have urine candy for some reason. You know, my ex was doing urotherapy. She was drinking her own urine. Wanted our kids to do it, so that was, you know, something I lived through. That was awesome. Right? But now they're making candy out of urine. Mission Impossible 7. Dead Reckoning.
Our lives.
Well, that seems really unnecessary, right? You're not being chased.
Are the sum of our choices.
Well, that's scary. Here's a high-risk guy, Tom Cruise. He likes to risk things. He likes to run fast.
And we cannot escape the past.
He likes to shoot.
Ethan, this mission of yours.
He likes to fight.
Is gonna cost you dearly.
He likes to make this look. He also liked to berate his staff when he was shooting this movie. People who worked in the set, he yelled at them for not wearing masks. He does all these bizarre stunts and unsafe behaviors, but he was very upset when his staff didn't wear masks.
Take the items out, or I'll call the police. And I've got both your pictures. Take the items out. All of them out. And the rest.
Oh my God.
And the rest.
Oh my God.
We're going to phone on the police now. Call the police. All of it out. The police being. The whole lot. It's unbelievable.
He loaded up here.
Madness.
It's madness. Got this big dress. He's wearing some foreign person.
Keep it going.
In Great Britain.
Lift up your skirt a bit. Give us a twirl. Give us
a twirl.
Shake it a bit because you can
Shake
see
it.
it poking out. That's how we clocked it in the first place. Come on. You're taking a piss now. Jump up and down.
We can see it. Come on.
Keep going.
It's unbelievable.
I'm not willing to accept this.
Who wants to buy those? They're going to put those back on the shelves.
Look at it. Come on. It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It doesn't seem
Turn
embarrassing.
around because you can still see.
I don't have nothing else.
Now we've got the other side because that side ain't working properly either, is it?
No, it's not. Look, nothing else.
Right. Perfect. Don't come back again. You're all on video and picture.
So that was the punishment. Don't come back again. you're all on video and picture. Now it's on the social media, but no police were called, right? Like this is, she has no motivation not to do it again. And that's just the way it is. They don't, they just don't call the police anymore. My wife was seeing this. She was in Home Depot waiting in line at the service desk, and this woman got caught switching the prices, and another guy got caught returning something that was stolen, and they just said, and the guy was arguing with them, right? It's like, do you want us to call the police? He goes, no, and he walked out, right? And so they just don't, I guess these stores aren't prosecuting anymore because, the rule of law is dead. I mean, it's always been bad, but it's dead now. Orcas sink another boat in Europe, and the behavior is spreading. Experts say the phenomena may be started after a female killer whale had a traumatic encounter with a vessel at sea. Now, killer whales, orcas, are, they hunt great white sharks. They were eating the brains and liver of great white sharks. They are, apex predators. They eat seals and other mammals and dolphins that are, somewhat closely related to humans. And if they started to hunt humans, then, it'd be kind of over. You couldn't really swim anymore, or, it'd be a whole thing, right? I guess they would go out and try to kill all of them, but, But now they're sinking boats for some reason. Low-income tenants lack options as mobile home parks are raised. So apparently they're tearing down these mobile home parks, and they don't have anywhere to go. They're just increasing the amount of homeless people, and they're going to build these, Agenda 31 houses. Like I said, this is a weird one. They're all weird. And they seem to be just getting weirder and weirder. Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies. It's just a reflection of what's going on out in the world, and things have gotten really weird. I mean, I can't even remember all the stuff that's in this one already. It's just too much weirdness. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.